Oh, hello there, and welcome to Upon Further Inspection. I'm Dr. M. And if you're anything like me, you're tired of movies with weak plots and unlikable characters. I want a movie that's really gonna stick with me. Something like... Today's test subject... Ow. Splinter! Splinter didn't do too well in the box office, so you probably haven't heard of it. If you like the body horror genre, with good characters and real suspense, this could be an undiscovered gem. At a gas station in a sleepy town, the station attendant and bikini enthusiast first notices something's wrong.
Go on, I ain't got nothing.
He becomes the Splinter horror's first victim. All because he wouldn't share his chips. Meanwhile, heading home from an unsuccessful camping trip, our heroes, Seth and Polly, pause to consider picking up a damsel in distress, but end up getting carjacked instead. Convict D and his meth-addicted girlfriend are on the run from the law, and they need a ride. The car hits something mysterious in the road, which punctures the coolant. Before long, the car overheats, and now our heroes are stuck at the station as hostages. Hey, where's the station attendant? We sure could use some service from someone who loves bikinis! Oh, there he is! Drugs are bad, kids. You see some pretty horrible stuff when you're on meth.
What's going on? There's a man with spikes!
And it kinda ruins your credibility.
Spikes.
No.
Once the Splinter horror has emerged, the survivors go from opponents to allies to face off against a powerful foe. So Splinter would best be described as a body horror movie. It's got a lot of squirm-inducing the monsters inside of you moments. Fans of movies like John Carpenter's The Thing would probably enjoy this one. Here's my top 3 reasons you should give this movie a watch. One of my favorite things about this movie is that it's got a genuinely scary opponent that's well matched against our heroes. The monster with its superior strength versus 3 humans equipped only with teamwork, ingenuity, and whatever they can find in a convenience store. It's a well-balanced fight, and that keeps things suspenseful. All too often, Hollywood movies will pit their heroes against foes that are way too powerful, to the point where they have to use cheap tricks just to survive. I mean, if you've made your enemy army so powerful you need a wizard to sweep in like the hand of God, maybe that's not a well-balanced fight. And how many times does some fearsome super predator just stand there and roar when it could have easily landed a killing blow? That's just lazy writing!
But predators do roar like that. They're trying to intimidate rivals to avoid a fight.
But in the situations I'm talking about, it isn't 2 rivals. It's just predator and prey. Just bite him, Rex! Why aren't you biting his head right now? But with Splinter you get man versus monster, man versus the elements, man versus man, and man versus himself. Threats from every side, but the suspense is always well balanced. Plenty of movies have interesting characters, but they don't often seem like real people. Every house is a mansion, and the characters just act a little too flawless. Who acts like this? I like the characters in Splinter because they seem like real people. D may be an ex-con, but he's not unintelligent or abusive to Lacey. In fact, he expresses his affection and support for his girlfriend more than most Hollywood heroes.
Well, Mexico's just around the corner, sweetheart.
Hey, who's your cowgirl, huh? Just gotta hang on a little while longer, baby.
Ginger's dead, sweetheart. Hey, you gotta let her go.
We're good, baby. We're good.
Whereas Lacey, she's into redheads.
You think Ginger's okay? Ginger. It's gonna be okay, Ginger.
Then there's Polly and Seth. They're both cool characters on their own, and together they make the most realistic couple I've seen in a horror movie.
I was made for camping. This is like my thing. What? Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Right from the beginning, you can tell these two characters have history together and they genuinely like each other. And I really like them too, which helps me get emotionally invested in what happens to them. I mean, haven't you ever watched a horror movie and caught yourself wondering, who cares what happens to these guys? They're pretty much forgettable jerks. Or forgettable jerks. It ruins the tension of a horror movie if you don't care what happens. But if you can actually relate to these characters, that really raises the stakes.
Over there, by the fire pit.
Speaking of relatable, I think it's awesome that Polly is kind of the leader in her relationship with Seth. Most movies put the man in charge by default, but in the real world, there's plenty of awesome women leaders and men who would rather not lead.
And then she pointed at me. She said, "You are no longer the alpha of the house." And in the back of my head, I was like, I was never the alpha of the house. I turned to my wife, I was like, let's pretend, it'll be fun. Yes, my title of alpha, which I once had. How could I reclaim it? Because that was a thing that existed at one time.
You see glimpses of this dynamic with a cougar and a younger man, so why not couples the same age? Plenty of guys would love to be with a strong, take-charge woman. She knows what she wants, and she wants you, boy. That's hot.
I'm not leaving him. I'm not leaving him.
It's 2016. Why don't we see this more in movies?
I like bossy women.
That's great, Photon. Probably why we get along so well. So if you know of more movies like this, please mention it in the comments. I really want to check that biz out. And just because Polly takes the lead a little more doesn't mean that Seth is a spineless wimp. Polly and Seth both have their moments of leadership.
Let's just give him the damn thing.
We'll watch the monitor. We'll make sure that thing on the car doesn't move when you open the door.
They both get terrified. They both show courage. They're both bold about speaking their minds. In other words, they're both human beings instead of outdated gender stereotypes. Finally, a movie that's caught up to the 21st century. Some movies work best with larger-than-life characters. Action-adventure movies, spy movies, and superhero movies, for example. But when it comes to horror movies, vulnerability is the currency of fear. You want your protagonist to skate that razor edge of survival because that's what keeps you at the edge of your seat. That's why it's so anticlimactic when you have an OP protagonist. Take the movie I Am Legend. The hero, Robert Neville, struggles to survive in a heartbreaking post-apocalyptic vampire-infested wasteland. But he still has time to scavenge houses, wash the dog, set elaborate traps, get buff, research the vampire infection, set up explosives, start a vlog, get even more buff, rent videos, and practice his backswing off a jet. If one guy can seriously do all that, he's basically superhuman, which ruins the tension and makes the whole story harder to believe. The characters in Splinter are believable, everyday people, each with their own ideas about the best way to survive. They disagree with each other, they compromise, they work as a team. All three of these characters are using their brains. Trapping the monster, trying to observe the monster, pulling your partner a safe distance away from the monster. All good ideas. A lot of horror movies rely on characters making too dumb to live sort of choices to put the characters in jeopardy. But with Splinter, I frequently found myself saying, that's what I would do if I was in their shoes. That realness is what draws me into the story, and that's what makes a good horror movie. Photon, what did you think of today's experiment?
Shouldn't we do something about that hand first?
Huh? There's no problem.
Well, all the same, let's dose you with this cure-all you invented.
Fine. Join us next week as we discuss French existentialism in the Care Bears movie and Photon learns where babies come from.
From reputable manufacturers, right?
See you next time!